And we're here tonight on the agenda because we think it's time to out the agenda. How's everybody doing?
Good.
All right. We've got an exciting show today. And remember, folks, you can join us in the chat room at QTalkAmerica.com. And you can also call in with your thoughts at 888-791-9294. And I got to say, it is nice to be back.
Yeah, well, like I said,
I've been gone.
Feel like we haven't seen you in a month.
Yeah, and I have something.
Uh-oh.
Let's see, I have something. So I found this egg. I found this egg. I don't know if you can see the egg.
Pink.
Where's the thing? I can't see. Oh, there we go. Gotta be it. So this is. There you go. All right. So as you may have remembered, my family and I were heading to the White House for the White House Easter egg roll, and we had an amazing time. Representative Kirsten Sinema invited us to go because she felt it was important to have LGBT families represented there. And you know, this has been since President Obama has come into office. It's the LGBT community has been invited, has been welcomed, and it's been important for them to be there. And it wasn't really news anymore. I mean, in the beginning, when it first happened, it was news because the White House was inviting the gays, and it was a big deal. And now it's not news, but it still makes a difference. And let me tell you why it makes a difference. Nobody cared about us at the White House, and that was just fine and dandy. It's not true. Actually, we walked in through the gate with that was for like the congressional people and their little special guests. So we were walking in and it's like, hi, Congressman, hi, Congresswoman, how are you? And I'm like, hi. And so anyway, but there was a lot of, Kirsten's freshman class. And so, so it was very funny because they were actually taking pictures of us. And then because they wanted to send them to Kirsten because they're like, oh, you're Kirsten's friend? Okay, well, I want to take a picture of you. So we got congressional people taking pictures of us. To send, it was a little surreal, but anyway, so we had a great time. But this is why it matters. It matters because Jess, my partner, works for an insurance company here in town, and they have very great policies. And they asked, when they found out that she was going, and that's why she was taking PTO, they invited her to write a story and put it in their little news thing that goes out to employees. And so she got a lot of feedback of, wow, that's so cool. And, because she made it about the reason that we were going was because we were a gay family. So then apparently someone asked the CEO, like you can do this, ask the CEO question, okay? So somebody responded, they're like, yeah, that's great that somebody gets to go, but why is it about sexual orientation and why was this an issue? He can choose what he wants to respond to, and he picked that question, and he went through, let me tell you why we put that in there. We want all of our employees to have, a voice, and, the employee wrote that, and they have a right to write whatever they want. But B, we also believe in equal opportunity, and we have these policies, and we have now, because of the Phoenix law that had been passed, we have now expanded to include gender identity in our non-discrimination policies and blah blah blah. And he went into this whole tirade that basically, and he's like, and if you have any questions, I think you should talk to your HR person. Like shut the person down. And so this is why it's important. It's because we get to still tell these stories, even though nobody paid any attention to what kind of, who was there. You're on the lawn with, I don't know, 1,000 other people or 2,000 other people. It was insanity. And, but it didn't matter. At one point we needed a picture, and there's some big giant colonel person or whatever it was, general person walking around. I'm like, can you take our picture? And he's like, sure. And so here he is in a uniform. He's walking, taking our picture, in the front of the White House. And, what are you going to do? So yeah, but it was a blast. So anyway, but part of the reason that we got to go is because some organizations and individuals made it possible, with donations of tickets and things to be able to go. And so this is the official egg that was given at the event. They gave these pink eggs. Every child got one. And so, yeah, grown-ups like, I didn't get one. So anyway, so I wanted to give this to Rebecca because she and her partner, in the name of Equality Arizona, are contributors to some of the people that helped us get there. So we wanted to give that to you. It's signed, as you can see on the back, by Barack and Michelle. Nice. And it's very, very cool. So that is our special egg. And nice. And the theme of it was kind of, about the get moving because of Michelle's stuff. And so it's got the Easter bunny jump rope ring. Right, which of course is what I do for the American Heart Association is I do jump rope for heart. And so I'm like, really? Like I can't get away from the jump rope thing? But anyway, it must be incredible.
A male. It must be a male bunny because he's wearing shorts and a sweatband. So
no shirt.
Yeah, no shirt. No
shirtless.
No breast disease. So
anyway, so that was fun.
Did you, the question I've been dying to ask though? Okay. Did you get to see Michelle in person?
So no. Oh. No, our session was late. So the way they do this is they have sessions because they see over 30,000 people. 30,000 people come to the lawn, and let me tell you what, it felt like they were all at my session, but apparently they were not. And so we were very late in the day. And the president and his family come out very early in the day when it's nice and sunny, and yay, we were there in like umbrellas and hoping it didn't rain and everything else. So no, we did not see. We saw, like I said, Congress people and military personnel, high-ranking military personnel, and all that. It was a lot of fun, but they, like Jordan Sparks performed, and there was a lot of cool things going on. I mean, they really just make such a special moment of it all, and the kids loved it and had a great time. Really taking it all in. Maddie really understood why we were invited, and and really got to the true concept that we wouldn't have been invited 10 years ago, right? And now, in fact, if we had gone, we would have been seen as crashing the White House Easter egg roll is how they used to refer to the gays that showed up. And so it was very cool, very cool. So yeah. But and I'm not sure that the rest of the show is going to be as happy as that. So we'll start happy.
Let me see. I'll put a picture of that on
there we go.
On our
nice.
Facebook.
Picture of the bag.
Nice. And then I think it's going to go downhill. So but there's so besides that was 2 weeks ago. This week has been absolute insanity with news and just with topics that are going on and topics that we've touched on here on the show. And so we have a special guest in the studio with us tonight, and we've been talking a lot about gun safety and gun laws and what's going to happen with that, since Newtown and I mean, honestly, I've been talking about it since Tucson and Gabby Giffords and stuff, but I probably should have been talking about it long before that, because our special guest is actually someone that I have known. I was trying to think about this on the way down here. Someone that I have known her easily since the early 90s, I would say mid to early 90s is what I'm guessing.
99.
Okay, 99, yeah. And I was thinking it was earlier than that, but okay, well, that's good. And so anyway, Jennifer Longden is with us today, and she is a gun safety advocate because she has a personal connection to this. Was it in 99? Because that's what I remembered, was that it happened in 99. Is that?
No, it happened in 2004.
Oh, see, I'm so off. Okay, well, I had the 99 associated with something. So, all right. So in 2004, there was a shooting. She is a gun incident survivor, a shooting survivor, and since then, since her recovery, has been advocating for better gun laws, and so she joins us tonight because there was just a vote in the Senate today, and I gotta say I'm a little pissed off about it, and probably not as pissed off as our guest, but it is the most ridiculous thing. So Jennifer, why don't you start with telling us your story a little bit first, and then we'll get into some of the chaos from today.
Sure. So it was almost 8 years ago, November 15th, 2004. It was the most beautiful night of my life. I had just returned from my dream trip to Fiji with my fiance for like the 1,000th time. He'd asked me to marry him, and for the first time I told him yes. And Kathy, you know him. You know how incredible,
absolutely, what
an incredible guy he is. And we were on our way to dinner. My scuba gear hadn't made it home yet. Luggage is exploded all over the house, this sort of thing. Nothing in the house to eat, and so we decided we would go get a bite to eat. And on our way into this parking lot, we were sideswiped by another vehicle and 5 random bullets. I mean, we have no idea why it happened. We were not buying drugs. We weren't involved in any kind of criminal activity. We didn't flip anyone off on the expressway. We were just riding along, holding hands, talking about our wedding. And next thing you know, 5 bullets later, he'd been shot 3 times. His most devastating wound was a head wound. A 45 caliber bullet went across his, entered his left temple, and now fragments of it live behind his right eye. And the very last bullet that was fired traveled, through the tire and through the truck and through the seat and hit me in the back. And now I'm paralyzed from the middle of my chest down. I have a spinal cord injury. So that was 8 years ago. It changed life. I learned a lot about disability, and since then I've learned a lot about the incidence of gun violence in the U.S. and how prevalent it is, and been working on that ever since.
So, so there's been obviously, heightened attention and awareness since the Newtown tragedy.
Sure.
And that moment and those kids gripped a nation, and the amount of statistics that have come out now and polls, I should say, where polls are, show that the American people, 90% of the American people want background checks, increased background checks. And yet, in the Senate today, there was a vote on expanding background checks. Mm-hmm. And with 90% of Americans wanting that and in favor of that, it didn't get done. Now, of course, we have whacked out rules in the Senate, and we've discussed those here on the show. And the fact that, even if a majority of folks want it and they vote for it in the Senate, you have to have 60.
Right.
So that didn't happen. There was a majority vote that passed this. It was 54 to 46.
54. Mm-hmm.
And so 54 senators voted for it. Senator McCain somehow magically was one of them.
And can I just stop you right there and just say thank you, Senator John McCain. It's not very often that I have reason to say that, but thank you, Senator John McCain. And that is as sincere as it gets. He has certainly gotten as much pressure as anyone to vote no.
That's right.
And he did what was right. And, the 46 craven senators who could vote against this, I don't understand it. 4 Democrats, I don't get that.
I don't get it either.
And 3 of them, but they made the point of saying 3 of them are up for re-election in 2014. So I got a feeling that the NRA said,
All right, all I can say is craven. Really, it was just, it was calculated, it was cynical, and it was their hope that voting no would save their seat later on. Instead of doing what's right for the people, they did what's right for their personal careers.
So there was talk today, or talk from the NRA, that this bill did more than it said, and that it was going to lead to death and destruction and everything
showing up at your house and taking the gold out of your teeth and all of your guns.
Right. And Senator McCain actually came out and said bullshit. I mean, that's pretty much what he said. He looked at the NRA and he said, liar, liar, pants on fire. And he voted the right way on this. Why did he get it? 4 Democrats didn't. I mean, I'm sorry, but he doesn't get much. And if he can see that, and his staffers are reading it, and he's reading it, and I got 55 other people that are reading it that way. What is it about the NRA, and what is it about this fear of going against them, and not 90% of the people? I mean, where is this?
So let's start with what the NRA is. The NRA is made up of 4 million people. And the membership of the NRA is generally individuals who are law-abiding, good people, and over 75% of them are in favor of universal background checks. NRA leadership is something entirely different, and this was a movement done by NRA leadership. And those are individuals who do represent the manufacturers of firearms and ammunition. And, every time something happens, they give out the message, jackbooted thugs are going to show up at your house. They're going to take away your guns. Quick, go out and buy some more. And gun sales go up. Ammunition sales go up. And so for me, this is strictly for the NRA leadership. This is all about marketing. And they were successful again because more people are going to go out. Gun sales are going to spike again. Ammunition sales are going to spike again because the message is going to be people are going to come and take away your guns.
Right.
Get them now. Protect yourself from tyranny now.
Right.
When you can talk about tyranny openly like this, then you don't have to worry about tyranny.
That's a great way to put it.
And there's this huge. They put out this fear that at some point Big Brother, aka the government, there's going to be rioting in the streets, and you're going to have to protect yourself from the soldier or the National Guard guy walking down the street with the M16. And by God, that's why we need ours. And plus, I take my semi-automatic elk hunting because it's so good at tenderizing the meat. It's just ridiculous. And and I grew up in a household where my father hunted. I own guns.
I do too.
I went through the NRA safety course level 1 and 2. And, and when I tell an auction house 3 weeks after the Newtown massacre that I'm dropping off their email list, because they're putting up, 20 Chris semi-automatic shotguns that fire off 1,500 rounds a minute. Because, I understand business, but at some point you need to stand up for principle. And I got called a knee-jerk liberal. And I'm like, you don't know who I am. You don't know that I have a 9mm, that I have a shotgun, that I have a rifle. I mean, the reason I have that is more because it was my grandfather's, passed to my father to me. But how dare you? I mean, you don't know if I'm a card-carrying member of the NRA. It's just, ugh.
So let's go back, because I was, being glib before, but Jennifer, can you explain to us what exactly did the Senate vote against today? What did they vote down? What would the background check bill have done?
Right. So universal background checks would have required that all commercial sales, that an individual would have to take 90 seconds of their time to undergo a criminal background check that would check for felonies, domestic violence issues, and it would require that the states also make sure that they get all of their records in pertaining to mental health, so that we would know if an individual potentially might be dangerously violent.
Or cuckoo.
Yeah, okay, there we go. I'm going, oh no, what did I do wrong? Look, I'm really new at this radio stuff, okay?
Bill just likes to play with his sounds.
Yeah, that's my job
there would be
over
no
here.
charge to the individual. The background checks are free. I've had FFAs say, "Oh no, it's $50 for a background check." That's a lie. Background checks are free. It's a call on a toll-free number to the federal government where your background is run. I serve on a statewide commission here in Arizona. I'm a volunteer. Do you know I had to undergo a background check in order to be able to do that? Okay. So, we do background checks all the time. We do background. You undergo a background check to get a job at Chuck E. Cheese's.
Yeah.
Background checks happen all the time. This in no way created a registry. Actually, there was wording in there to absolutely prohibit collecting information on who owned the firearms. And while I'm on it, do you know who does have a registry of firearm owners and who sells their registry of firearm owners?
Would that be
the NRA?
That would be the NRA and their mailing list.
Ding,
right?
ding, 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 ding.
There you go. So again, it's all about the way they chose to market it, and they're fear mongering. And that's where it went today.
Now the big thing with this, because I think that the average person listening to what you just said goes, but wait a minute, why do we need that? It's already there.
No, it's
There's
not.
already background checks.
No, it's not. Well, okay. So here's the thing. If you go to a licensed firearm dealer, an FFA, a professional, a gun store, and buy a firearm, you do have to undergo a background check. However, there are more than 92,000 firearms available for sale right now on, firearms.com? And none of those will require a background check.
Craigslist
is another place where you can get it. And boy, the stuff you can buy through Craigslist.
You just go to a gun show
If you go to the gun
right?
show,
Yeah,
if you go to the gun show, you go to the table where the licensed firearm dealer is, and you have to go through the background check. You go 2 tables over, and you go to someone who is a private seller, and you can't tell the difference between the private sellers and the professionals. All right. And they're not required to do a background check. So we know that about 40%, roughly, of all firearm sales do not undergo a background check.
Yeah, I was telling a story because I think last December I went down to the Crossroads of the West when I was over here at on McDowell.
Right.
Just to buy some ammunition for a shotgun. And it's just amazing what's for sale there.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And I'm just like...
Oh, you should see what's available for sale in the parking lot.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. And it's... it's scary. And because I was jokingly talking about walking in there with my LGBT for Obama shirt, and I thought, oh yeah, that probably wouldn't be a good idea. Bill and Kathy would be discussing my memoriam on the next show.
We would miss you.
Yeah. So President Obama, after this vote, President Obama came out and he was surrounded with Joe Biden, Gabby Giffords, and was introduced by one of the fathers of Newtown. And I want to take about 2 minutes to kind of play here what he said.
Sure.
You know when you hit play, just to make sure.
Yep. I love buffering. Here we go.
We are here now. We will always be here because we have no other choice. We are not going away. And every day, as more people are killed in this country because of gun violence, our determination grows stronger. Our hearts are broken. Our spirit is not. Thank you. It is now my great pleasure to introduce the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
A few minutes ago, a minority in the United States Senate decided it wasn't worth it. They blocked common sense gun reforms, even while these families looked on from the Senate gallery. By this continuing distortion of Senate rules, a minority was able to block it from moving forward. Now, I'm going to speak plainly and honestly about what's happened here. Instead of supporting this compromise, the gun lobby and its allies willfully lied about the bill. They claimed that it would create some sort of big brother gun registry, even though the bill did the opposite. And unfortunately, this pattern of spreading untruths about this legislation served a purpose, because those lies upset an intense minority of gun owners, and that in turn intimidated a lot of senators. And so they caved to the pressure. And they started looking for an excuse, any excuse, to vote no. If it could have prevented those people from losing their lives to gun violence in the future while preserving our Second Amendment rights, we had an obligation to try. And this legislation met that test. And too many senators failed theirs. I've heard some say that blocking this step would be a victory. And my question is, a victory for who? A victory for what? It begs the question, who are we here to represent? So all in all, this was a pretty shameful day for Washington. But we can do more if Congress gets its act together. The point is, those who care deeply about preventing more and more gun violence will have to be as passionate and as organized and as vocal as those who blocked these common sense steps to help keep our kids safe. And I see this as just round one.
So that's as pretty as forcefully as I've heard Barack Obama talk in a long time.
Oh, he was pissed.
He was pissed. And, I would have to ask, back in the 60s, we saw John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, Malcolm X, all die at the hands of single shot guns. And now we're in a time when, was I reading right on your Facebook, 260 people a day are affected by gun violence?
260 people a day are shot.
And we had the tragedy in Tucson with having Gabby Gifford shot, and then the massacre at Newtown. What the hell is it going to take in this country for this to get done?
Well, yeah. And let me read a little bit about what Gabby had to say, because she wrote an op-ed. I'm just going to read part of it. This is Gabby Giffords. People have told me that I'm courageous, but I have seen greater courage. Gabe Zimmerman, my friend and staff member, in whose honor we dedicated a room in the United States Capitol this week, saw me shot in the head and saw the shooter turn his gunfire on others. Gabe ran towards me as I lay bleeding, toward gunfire. And then the gunman shot him, and then Gabe died. His body lay on the pavement in front of the Safeway for hours. I've thought a lot about why Gabe ran toward me when he could have run away. Service was part of his life. but it was also his job. The senators who voted against background checks for online and gun show sales and those who voted against checks to screen out would-be gun buyers with mental illness failed to do their job. Let's see. And then I wanted to jump to this other part. They should have honored the legacy of thousands of victims of gun violence and their families who have begged for action, not because it would bring their loved ones back, but so that the others might be spared the agony. This defeat is only the latest chapter of what I've always known would be a long, hard haul. Our democracy's history is littered with names we neither remember nor celebrate, people who stood in the way of progress while protecting the powerful. On Wednesday, a number of senators voted to join that list. And that's pretty powerful, you know. She pretty much laid it right out there, and you know, I think she tweeted right after that it was shameful, that they were full of shame. The senators that voted against it were full of shame.
Yeah, and so let's be clear that you had Heidi Heitkamp from North Dakota, Max Baucus from Montana, Mark Begich, I'm assuming, from Alaska, and Mark Pryor from Arkansas. Those were the 4 Democrats.
Right.
If they had voted yes on this, it would have been 50-50. And Harry Reid at the very end voted no, but only so that he could reserve the right to bring it back up at a later date. So if the 4 freaking Democrats who should be behind this would have voted the way that they should have, we would have had this done today.
And all 4 of them are up for re-election.
Three out of the 4. You know, but you had Pat Toomey, Mark Kirk, Susan Collins, and John McCain on the Republican side who voted for it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Mark Kirk's from Illinois, and that's a pretty big gun state. So, and Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania. So the fact that they could step up and these other Democrats couldn't is it's shameful.
Well, and we have Tupper in the chat room here, Jennifer. Wanted to go back to your 40% number, that about 40% of guns that are purchased without a background check.
Sure.
Where does that number come from?
That survey, I think, was done by Mayors Against Illegal Guns. You know, there are a variety of different surveys done, and I really do always try to take the most median number, and that's where that number came from.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and Tupper asks, aren't all federally licensed gun dealers required to do background checks now? And if
federally licensed dealers are required to do background checks.
They are, but I think our point is, Tupper, is that, you know, it's usually only the law-abiding citizens who go to the federal licensed gun dealers and do their 3-day background, their 3-day wait in some states and get their background check. You know, if I'm a convicted felon, I can go down to Crossroads of the West and purchase a gun.
Absolutely.
And without a background check. So
you can do it on Craigslist.
Or go down to the corner of, you know, Van Buren and wherever. And we're never going to be able to stop the criminals from underselling to another criminal. But, you know...
But here's what will happen. Here's what will happen. If you can make it more difficult for a criminal to buy a gun and force them to go to the black market for it, availability is lessened. Guns cost more when you have to buy them that way. You can't just... not everyone has an outlet to get to those illegal guns at that point in time. So it'll stop a lot of the more impulsive sales of guns at that point. Also, law enforcement then knows the difference between a legal and an illegal transaction, and they're better able to act on it right away. If you don't know that this person at, you know, the gun show is willing to sell to just anybody or willing to sell to someone, a criminal, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt if they're not required to do that background check. But if it's then on the black market and a background check is required and they don't do it, then you have a crime, and we can act on that.
And I want to go back to, you know, what Rebecca said. You know, if 20 kids, if 20 first graders aren't a good enough reason to get this done, if one of your own, if a congressperson being shot isn't good enough to get this done, then what will be? What is going to stop the NRA?
You know, right after Newtown, that was one of the first things that I thought about when this discussion started is, you know, this is where we set the bar for national horror. 20 first graders and 6 adults in a matter of 2.5 minutes. And if that doesn't do it, what does it take 50 kindergartners, 100 infants. What is it going to take? Now, the only bright spot out of all of this for me are the individuals that I've gotten to know. And I have the real privilege of becoming friends with some of the folks from Tucson, with some of the families impacted at Aurora. And my friends Karen and Tom Teebs live here in Arizona. Their son Alex was killed in the Aurora movie theater. And during the 911 call, in the course of 20 seconds, you can count 31 rounds being fired. Now, it doesn't matter how skilled you are or how fast your reflexes are. You can't outrun 31 bullets in 20 seconds. Those people had no opportunity to act.
Exactly. And, this was actually kind of I don't know if watered down is the right thing, but it wasn't the top bar that we were shooting for, right? Like, this
was a compromise bill.
Right. So it was a compromise. That's great. That's better than watered down. But it certainly wouldn't have done everything that folks were really trying to get out there and do, but it would have, I think they were kind of banking like, okay, but 90% of people want this. And most people think that background checks are already being done because, well, they should be. But there's all these loopholes everywhere. And so it was just, it's fascinating to me that even on this, compromise bill and where we were at, that it couldn't get done. And it clearly, as the president said, this vote happened with gun violence, families connected to gun violence right up looking down at them.
Right.
And one of those is Patricia Mace,
right,
from the Tucson. She's the labeled as one of the heroes of the Tucson shooting. She got the clip and took it away from Jared Loeffner before he could reload as he was being tackled. And she was sitting up in that gallery
with Mrs. Haas, yeah.
And when the vote happened and she was told that it was done and that they couldn't win, she yelled down to the floor and she said, shame on you.
Twice, yeah.
And then she was escorted out. And she was surrounded by
good for her
media and everything else. And, and she said, when I was told it was done, I decided that I could not stay still any longer and that they needed to be ashamed of themselves. They have no souls. They have no compassion for the experiences that people have lived through, having a child or a loved one murdered by a gun. They say that it's not the gun, it's the man. I'm here to tell you the man and the gun have become intimate. And they do not, and they cannot do the act without each other. So the gun is part of the problem. I have a new candidate to replace Jeff Flake. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. It's like, I thought, here's a woman that clearly has quick reactions, right? She reacted in a brave fashion, took care of Jared Loeffner, and she was not going to stand and be silent today without acting. And so, kudos to her. But, I hope that those senators have trouble sleeping tonight.
Oh, they won't. Because I'm sure the NRA has already made a nice donation to their reelection campaign.
Cushioning their pillow.
Sure.
But going back to what it's going to take, there was an op-ed that Michael Moore wrote maybe 6 weeks ago, and he said, and I'm not sure I agree with this, but he said they should release the pictures of Noontown. He said if,
he's been saying that for a while.
If people would see the bodies of a 6-year-old after it's been hit 4 or 5 times with the bullets that were hit, and there was one brave mother that when burying her son had an open casket for the governor to come look and say, look.
She made the governor look.
I want you to look at this because, and the description was, part of his jaw was missing and part of his hand was missing. But it's like, look at what this is, because if you look at this, you will remember it and you will act the way you should act. And everybody would say, and he said eventually they will come out. And I don't agree with that because, how many years has it been since Columbine and we've never seen pictures of that? But, is it going to take something like that?
Maybe that's what it takes. Like you, I hope that those pictures never come out. What it would do to the families would just be horrible. my friends, again, from Aurora, my friends, the Redfields and the Teebs both lost adult children. Sandy Teebs lost her daughter, Jessica Gowie, and then Karen and Tom Teebs lost their son, Alex. Both of them, although they have a great deal of information, they've sat with prosecutors and this kind of thing, they're very careful to filter that to the average person because it's so horrific. But the thing that really struck me as a parent, and I don't want to lose my composure here, is a part of their pain is that there wasn't enough left of their children to bury. At the advice of the funeral directors, their children were cremated because their bodies were so mangled that they weren't really buriable.
Yeah,
How can you do that to a parent?
Right. You can't.
Yeah.
You know, but there, and I don't want the pictures to come out either, but there are people that should have to see those, and those are the decision makers. And whether that be that you're on a jury, right? I don't know if jury members need to see that.
Well, you know what I would really like?
And 54 senators should have, 50 whatever, should have seen it.
I think that those 46 senators should have had to listen to the 911 tape from Aurora. And listen to what it sounds like.
That's right.
The horror, the pain, the dead, the dying, the anguish, and 31 rounds in 20 seconds. Surely they could have spared 20 seconds. And a senator, could have gotten that tape if that's what they'd chosen to do. Our own senator here, Senator Jeff Flake, has really pretty much refused to meet with any of us. The Teebs have personally asked for a meeting. I did. I sent an official letter. And he doesn't answer them.
He talks with Gabby, so it's good enough. You know, they're friends, so it's fine.
Right.
I don't know how he looks at her again.
I don't know how any senator could look at what's happened, talk to survivors, and then go and vote the way they did. I don't know how Jeff Flake could do that. He sent, on Saturday, Karen Teebs called me, and she's like, we just got a handwritten note from Jeff Flake. And, you know, he said all these things, and he said, I support universal background checks, and on and on. But look what he did. So, you know, he parsed his words, too cute by half, said things to make Karen feel better, but was too gutless to tell her that he didn't agree, that he wasn't going to vote for it.
Right.
You know what I think is very interesting and ironic is because I read this on your Facebook one day. Talk about the differences in Senator McCain and Senator Flake's offices.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. So, so I went to both offices on the same day, and I started off at Senator Flake's office. Well, Senator Flake's office, and you know, they're both inside office buildings. So you go into the lobby, the main lobby of this office building, and when you go to Senator Flake's office, you have to push a button, and you have to have an intercom conversation with the receptionist. And that person will decide whether or not to admit you into the senator's suite. Once you're in the suite, they allow 3 people in. Recording of any kind, video, audio, is forbidden. So, you know, not a big supporter of the First Amendment. The receptionist sits behind some of the thickest bulletproof glass I've ever seen. The door into the inner sanctum there is reinforced, and again, on a buzzer, there's no way to get through that unless someone buzzes you in. It's more secure than any bank I've ever been in. I went into Senator McCain's office. We didn't have to be buzzed in. They allowed only 20 people in the lobby at a time, but looking around, it's like, I don't think you could fit any more in there, and I really did see that as kind of a public safety issue. Yeah. They let us talk for as long as we wanted to. There were people taking pictures. The receptionist was out in the open, just like a receptionist might be anywhere else. The state director, a lovely woman, I believe her name is Gail, came out. She was there. She talked to us. She was kind. And while we seemed to have some fundamental disagreements, we felt really heard, we felt respected, and we felt like the democratic process was working. And clearly it did, because Senator McCain did listen and reacted. Now, we didn't meet with Senator McCain, but I certainly felt more heard in his office, and I certainly felt like his office was more open to the public. So in my own mind, while Senator Flake is, you know, talking about how important the Second Amendment is, he's squashing the First Amendment in the process, and boy, does he have plenty of protection around his office.
Now, it's interesting because that's definitely a big shift for him. I don't know if you ever had an opportunity to go to his congressional office.
No.
I've lobbied with HRC and stuff and been to his congressional office, and completely opposite of what you're saying. Secretary in the wide open. We brought in as many people as we wanted. Had a sit down meeting with him.
Not as a senator.
In a bubble. So, but I'm trying to think now, because I want to say that was pre Tucson shooting. So I don't know. Like, in other words, I don't know if he changed his congressional office after, and the rules and access and things like that after that shooting. But he definitely set up his new office, in a very different way. And McCain clearly is like, whatever. Right. I've been here for a long time. Whatever, bring it.
And I thought about it. I mean, Senator McCain could have reconfigured his office at any time he chose to as well, I would imagine. Right. And, declared it, a security matter. I imagine that would have been taken care of. But yeah, I find it really ironic that Senator Flake isn't willing to protect the rest of us, but boy, he's pretty well protected.
Yeah, that is that is fascinating. And I thought that he posted on Facebook that he wasn't going to vote for it was the Toomey bill, right? But
he did. I think he posted it on Monday.
He must have pulled it.
It might have gotten buried. It was still up there earlier today when he was talking about it.
And one of the things we've talked about too in the past is, because my belief is there's something at the core wrong with this nation, because there are other nations who per capita have more guns per citizen and don't have near the violence that we do. And we can kind of pull this topic into as well what happened in Boston.
Right.
I mean, it's almost as a nation we are becoming this happens more, the shootings happen more, the bombings happen more. It's almost like we're starting to, that's just another day of news. And, clearly, we were talking about this before the show started. I was kind of expecting a knock at the door from my FBI because I got brave and went on because they were talking about a pressure cooker bomb. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you build a pressure cooker bomb? And then how do you build a bomb? And the stuff that's out there on the internet, oh my God.
It's all there.
In stuff that a 6-year-old, okay, well, if you're at home and you have aluminum foil and you have vinegar and you have these 2 or 3 other household chemicals, put them all together.
Literally step by step.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God. Oh, and it's like, how to build a bomb. Well, do you want to build a tennis ball bomb? Do you want to build this? And I'm like, holy mother. No wonder. And we've talked about this before on the show too. You go down to the gun shows, and there's this wonderful little compound called thermite that, you put heat in it and it goes boom.
Right.
And it's like, wow, how uncontrolled do we have to be as a nation to allow everyone to have everything in their power that they can have to hurt people? And clearly that's what Boston was about, because they talked about the nails and the ball bearings and all this stuff being in these bombs, because and when you do that to a bomb, it's clearly because you want to maim, injure, or kill people. As many people as possible. And it's just like, are we becoming a nation that this just doesn't affect us anymore? And was today's vote part of that? I know these are kind of esoteric questions, but
it's hard to say. And how long is America's attention span? Okay, so we've done. We just can't stay focused, and people don't have the energy to fight for what they want anymore because of the instant gratification world. So if we had this vote 2 weeks after Newtown, the entire country would have been sitting in that Senate balcony going, I'm sorry, what? What? And but now, it's this many months later, and how many kids again? I don't know. I mean, there seems to just they just move on, and now we've had the bombing in Boston, and just tonight as we've been sitting here, there is an explosion. It's not a bomb, but there's a fire that's been happening outside of Waco, Texas, and it finally reached a fertilizer plant, and there is a massive explosion and fire everywhere that's gonna, looks like it's taken Waco off the map practically. And so is that the next thing that we're gonna focus on? And now is Boston done? Do we just forget about what happened there, and move on? And part of that, I think, is the 24-hour news cycle that we have, right? We don't just have a focused, we're going to focus on this, and this is what we're going to talk about, and it's going to be actual reporting. We now have CNN that just says whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want, and they never get it right.
Right.
Oh, no, that's Fox
Look
News.
at today.
No.
CNN did it today for sure.
Not anymore.
And the rest, well,
CNN corrects themselves. They pull it out.
occasionally.
Fox News just
They're
leaves
never
it.
right.
but they correct themselves at 2 a.m. when everybody else is asleep. Immediately after the bomb went off, there was a suspect in custody, and he was Saudi Arabian because somebody profiled the damn man. I mean, the bomb went off, everybody was running, and somebody tackled a national from Saudi Arabia and said, he looks suspicious. And the poor guy was a 20-year-old who was there to enjoy the marathon and
ended up wounded himself.
And I go back to, and I don't, we could spend 2 days debating the 24-hour news cycle. I think it's hurt us, and I think it's helped us. But I also think that a lot of times we're a nation of sheep. I mean, if you look at the last, if you look at the last election in Iran, when Ahmadinejad was reelected, and 2 million people marched in the streets. Mm-hmm. And when we had the Gore-Bush fiasco, what did we do? We sat at our televisions, we sat at our computers, and we watched the Supreme Court ruling. Right. And any other country, they would have been marching in the streets, pounding, going, what the hell? No, no, no. And we as Americans went, oh, man, Gore lost. Crap. Okay, what's for dinner? We're a country that has all these freedoms, including freedom of speech and the right to stand up for ourselves, and yet, as a country, a lot of times we don't do it. And I don't know how we do it without, overthrow or staging a civil riot. But there's clearly what we have in the government is not working because the will of the people is just being trampled on, as we saw today.
Well, and some of that, when you start talking about that, then you start getting into, and I don't want to get too far afield, but, the new changes in campaign finance. Because no longer is it important. It is my approval of my elected important, because they're just going to get their money from somewhere else. Mm-hmm. We're getting to a place where we are not going to count any longer. And so I think that's the first place we need to get back to is reforming our finance laws at this point in time, campaign finance. Once we do that and my vote and my dollars count to my candidate, then they'll start listening, and then they'll start acting again for the will of the people. People don't vote anymore. Right. Our voting rates are falling, and that's hurting us. When Americans vote, and when we vote with our heart, when we vote with our conscience, it makes a difference. Look what would have happened. How close was our Senate race that just happened just a couple months ago? How many thousand vote? 3,000 vote? 3,500 votes?
Which
like
Senate race?
Flake.
Carmona Flake.
All it was about 3,500. Yeah, that sounds
it was
about right to me.
It was the damn libertarian vote.
Right.
The people who wasted their votes on that libertarian candidate, had they voted for Carmona, he would be our senator today.
Right. And so today we would have had one more in the yes column, which would have been one less in the no column, or one more in the yes column, one less in the no column, right? We would have been that much closer. Carmona could have been the difference to have tipped it. And maybe those other senators those other blue dogs would have voted along. That's right. I don't know. But it's because people go, my vote doesn't matter, I don't count, that they don't do it. But here's the other thing. We still need to, we've got to thank Senator McCain, but we got to go spank Senator Flake.
That's right.
Absolutely. And actually, we are going to be doing that on Friday. Can I tell you that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this Friday, here in Phoenix, we're 10:30 a.m., we'll be holding a protest outside Senator Flake's office. Part of what we've been doing is demanding action. Demand a plan. Well, you know what? I demand an apology. I was shot in the back. I have begged the senator to do what's right for Arizona. I have been one of the many voices that have been working on this, asking for him just to listen to us, just to hear us, just to allow us to present true empirical data on the facts and discuss this with him, and he's ignored us. So you know what? We want an apology. The Teves deserve an apology. As I was driving over here this evening, I passed the end of watch marker for David Uribe. You remember that officer that was killed?
Yeah.
I talked to another good friend of mine whose husband was killed in the line of duty. I talked to, and also another friend of mine posted on Facebook that suddenly a gentleman that she, a friend of her sister, and they had been together on the weekend at the same party, he'd been shot and killed. And, more and more we're seeing this happen. 40% of people know someone who's been shot. And that number's growing every day. So we need to go and we need to tell the senator that, I think this is going to come up yet again, and he needs to reconsider his position. So come out, join us, bring your best protest sign, bring your bullhorn. Hopefully no one gets arrested, but and that's not what we're pushing for. But not looking for civil disobedience, but looking for a true protest.
And what time and what's the location?
This Friday, Senator Flake's office here in Phoenix, which is 2200 East Camelback, and 10:30.
Sounds like fun. Sounds
Come
like
on
a
out.
good time.
Let's do it.
We've been talking today with Jennifer Longden. She is a gun safety advocate here, it's been an exciting topic. So I got to share one of my favorite memes from Facebook today. It was from Move On. Well, no, I guess Move On shared it. Anyway, I don't know who the hell made it, but it's awesome. It's from Shame on You Senators. Okay, I could get behind that. I may have to go like that page. It says, new rule. You're not allowed to talk about background checks for voting when you refuse to talk about background checks for buying guns.
Nice.
Yay. Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
Like that. Like that a lot.
Yeah, so that would be a true statement. All right, well, we have some things that we do here on the agenda every week. And we might as well do them.
I just have to say, Tupper says, can I come to Flake's office with you at 10:30 on Friday? And the answer to that, Tupper, is absolutely. We would love to see you there. So
Absolutely.
I was just typing it into my calendar, so.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. It's official now. It's in Rebecca's calendar. It can happen.
Awesome.
All right, so around here, Jennifer, just to let you know, we do something we like to call the recruit and the reject of the week. So who wants to do the recruit?
I'll take it, sure.
All right. Yeah, Bill, you've been quiet today.
I know. We need a recruit noise, but as you know, we love the kiki bird or its native land. So
Kiwi bird.
Kiwi.
What did I
Killing
say?
it.
You said
Kiki.
Kiki.
That's like a song.
Yeah, do the
I know. I'll give Kristen Gwynn a shout out there for that song. But today, New Zealand's parliament voted to legalize same-sex marriage in a 77-44 vote. So as lawmakers applauded, yay. The final vote, spectators crowded into the public gallery above outburst, and they sang. They came out into song, serenading the bill's sponsor, who happens to be a lesbian, Louisa Wall. And the Associated Press reports the song was you're gonna have to help me out on that one too. Pokerike? How do you say that?
Sure.
Anna? I don't know. I've never heard that. We should have pulled that clip. A love song in the country's indigenous language. So as Talroad reports, quote, this is what equality sounds like.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They
So it's really
they
cool.
just kind of busted out in the song, and I mean this is how it should be, right? Like this is not, I don't know. It gets to be obnoxious sometimes. So and then I think our reject of the week. I don't think that there's any doubt that goes to the senators that voted against the bill today, with those families sitting there looking at them, and in particular, I think we need to give a little extra bonus reject to our own Senator Flake, just because he's been so close to Gabby Giffords, and he's drove down as soon as he heard that she was shot. He drove down and he spent the night in the hospital and did whatever he could to help, and he's been there to support, and he's he helped her stand when she wanted to stand at the president's
State of the
State of the Union, even though he was the only Republican standing, but he was doing it to help his friend. And he clearly has seen, the devastation that has taken in her life. And if they're to not let that be a reason to look a little harder at this legislation and to ask better questions. I'm sorry he's a rookie. That's nice that he's a rookie. He is truly not a rookie, maybe a rookie in the Senate, but he is not in Congress. And to be fooled by a lie.
He wasn't fooled.
Well, that's what it looks like. I get that he was bought. Mm-hmm. But to me, he also looks like he was a fool.
Oh, he was a fool. But I don't think that he was fooled. I don't think that he believed for 1 second the things that he was saying.
He bought into that. To me, you didn't buy into Gabby.
No.
So are you saying that Gabby was lying?
No.
No, not you. I'm speaking to him. But, at some point he's either saying, Senator McCain looked at the NRA and said, bullshit. Mm-hmm. Jeff Flake looked at them and said, hey, that looks like the truth to me. No, I guess Gabby's, I can't go with this because this is the truth. I got to follow this path. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. So,
and I hope next time that he shows up to talk to Gabby, she just says, talk to.
I hope so too.
Just don't even.
Don't even talk to the hand.
I hope her receptionist doesn't buzz him in.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right. Do you want to hit us with the did you know?
Yeah, I had Patty Davis down about Nancy Reagan and Ronald supporting same-sex marriage, but
you're over that.
I'm over that. I'm going to go to anonymous because we always talk about the Westboro Baptist Church.
Oh yeah.
Hey, now as soon as the bombing happened in Boston, they were going to go picket the Boston funerals because the bombings happened because of the gay consequences, whatever. So anonymous. So in what could be described as an unintended consequence of the WBC's hate mongering, people across the country have come together to fight the group. And in the process, the direct result of the protest is often more tolerance, more acceptance, and a sense of community-wide solidarity. And after the group threatened to picket, Anonymous, which is one of these hacker groups responsible for a lot of damage to some people, launched a full-fledged attack on the WBC, publishing group members' personal information online, overtaking the group's main website, and hacking the Twitter account of one of its representatives.
And their Facebook account, too.
And I had to say,
it was awesome.
if I was Facebook and WBC called in, I would have been like, oh, so sorry, let's see what we can do with that.
We'll work on that.
Yeah. Nothing.
So, kudos to them because they're just, they're standing up and doing what's right. And I think I also saw a meme out there that, was talking about how to recycle your dog and cat poo. And here was the address to the Westboro Baptist Church.
Now that's illegal. We do not promote illegal acts on this show.
No,
that's Rebecca. I said it was meme. I said it was a meme.
Rebecca, you have 3 dogs, don't you?
I have 4.
Big, large dogs too, right?
Nice.
Can I bring it at 10:30 on Friday to a certain office?
It's just illegal to send it through the mail.
Oh.
So as long as you're bringing it live and in person, I think it's okay.
Could I set fire to it in front of the... no, probably not.
Well,
no.
probably not.
The FBI is already going to come
buzzed in
after.
first.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer Longden, it's been great having you with us tonight.
Thank you.
Folks can find you on Facebook.
Absolutely.
And on Twitter as well. And thanks for joining us. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com.
Oh, and I forgot. Happy anniversary, Wendy.
Oh, good Lord. She'll probably stop listening by now. Facebook.com/QTalk the agenda. And you can send us your ideas for recruit and reject of the week there. And be sure to stop by the Facebook page and say hi. Give us a little like. And you can subscribe to the agenda on iTunes. And we will see you next week.